Hi there, welcome back here on Prime Morning. We're still on with some conversation, and you'd enjoyed that conversation with the flooding in the central and western region. We've got loads of the messages coming through. We're going to be reading some of them here on the show as well. And it's a social watch at this moment. We're taking our attention to the rising cost of living here in Ghana. But we're going to have a blend of what's happening in terms of the situation with the flooding. And then also we take a look at how best we can manage ourselves as people in situations like this. Ghana's economy is on the downfall. I mean, this has been linked to a couple of factors, which includes COVID-19 pandemic and also the Ukraine and Russian war. Now, a few people have tried to justify the situation. Some people have tried to find solutions to it, and how, increasingly things are becoming very expensive in this country. Petrol keeps going up, and we're here to take a look at it. So this morning, it's me and you. We're just trying as much as possible to understand the situation and have solutions to them. And so if you're somewhere, living in any part of the country, and you're going through some very difficulties that, it's making you go by the parliamentarians and the kind of tactics that they believe people are using to survive lately, you can share that with me here on the show. Now, you can join us. Our phone lines will be activated a bit later for that interaction, so you can you also share your thoughts with me on what exactly is going on. Now, on Zoom, I'll be joined by Dr. Patrick Asumang. He's an economist and, of course, a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Patrick Asumang is an economist whose research interest is in human health and economics and development economics as well. And he's going to be my guest on Zoom to share his thoughts on the situation we all seem to be going through here in the country at the moment. But I'm inviting you to join me on Zoom and share your thought with me as well. And let me know your living condition. Is it improving? Is it difficult for you to survive a 3-day meal? If you're a working class lady, what are some of the things that you seem to be, spending money on now? If you're also a national personnel, I want to understand how you've been able to deal with the situation of, the increasing, items that we're experiencing here in Ghana. If you own a car and you used to buy 200 cedis petrol, now I want to know how much you're buying, just to survive. All right. So we're looking at how we can all, understand the situation we find ourselves in and how we can survive this moving forward. Now, let me go to Zoom and see if I've got Dr. Patrick Asumang on Zoom to join me in this conversation. Assuming, I beg your pardon. Doc, can you hear me? Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to viewers.
Good. I'm grateful that you were able to join us this morning, and pardon me for messing up your name there.
That's all right.
Awesome. Now, first of all, I'd like to find out, how would you describe the economy of Ghana now?
Well, the economy has serious challenges now. I think only yesterday, I'm sure you heard that the Ghana Statistical Service released our new growth numbers, and it shows that the growth rate has slowed down. Not that the economy has shrunk, but the rate at which the economic activity is expanding has gone down. So, coupled with that, we've seen that this year the currency has not been doing well at all. The cedi has been depreciating, and then prices have been going up. So, as you're talking about, the inflation has been rising. That means that the cost of living has been going up. So, I think currently it's fair to say that the economy of Ghana is not in a very good shape at all.
Is that the best we can describe it? Now, I'm asking because some people think that there's more to it than just, not in good shape. Others think it's not bad.
Well, yeah, I think, different people have different ways of putting it. I think it's fair to say that nobody will say that the economy is doing well as we have it. I think... and the people, depending on your own personal economy, you say, "Oh, it's terrible. Things are not going well at all." But also others who, I think it's fair to say that nobody is really feeling. Well, there might be very few people who are feeling good in their own personal economy and their personal circumstances. But I think, at the whole, when you take the aggregate, you have to say that we are not headed in the right direction at the moment.
Now, many factors have been cited for this downfall, including the COVID-19 pandemic and also the Ukraine and Russian war. Now, beyond that, What do you think that as a country we didn't do or we never saw coming that we'd have to go through this difficulty? And of course, it's accepted fact that globally many countries are also suffering. But what did we not do right?
I think we haven't done some basic things right, and these are things we've been talking about for years. These are things that I learned about when I first studied economics, and that is that the way the Ghanaian economy is structured is always tilted to a case where every time there's a global shock, we are going to see very severe consequences. And that is that we are an economy that we don't produce a lot of things. And the things that we produce, we export them in raw state. So what we produce, in particular, we say that we produce and export agricultural products, but usually we export them in the raw state, and their prices are very volatile, so their prices change a lot. On the other hand, we do import a lot of things, and the things we import are the manufactured things, and usually their prices tend to be higher. So what that means is that, so we will say that during the COVID, COVID is, a cause of our problems. But COVID is causing us problems because we have created an economy that's so import dependent that we depend on others for almost everything. So when a COVID hits and, people say we are diverting what we are producing and we are no longer going to export as much as we used to export, then what you realize is that then an economy like Ghana that depends on others for a lot of things, we suffer. And now recently, we keep citing the Russian-Ukraine war, but the problem the Russian-Ukraine war is affecting every economy, but the reason why we are suffering so much is because we have created an economy where even things that we could be producing ourselves, we are importing from others. So the moment Russia and Ukraine are fighting and we no longer get what we used to get from there, then we see that we are really suffering a lot. So we are here, we are suffering the effect we are suffering because a lot of it is because of what we as an economy have refused to do. And that is making sure that we are adding value to what we produce and making sure that things that we can readily produce here, we stop importing them. That is something we haven't done. And that is why we are suffering the way we are suffering.
Okay, so now let's take it down a bit and look at the impact, the direct impact on the people. And now, for example, I was citing an example earlier that if I'm buying fuel for 200 Ghana cedis for a week, and now I'm buying 500 Ghana cedis for a week, then it means that a lot of things have to change in terms of how I look at my budgeting. Now, the average Ghanaian and a working class Ghanaian, a national service personnel, and all of these people who are at the receiving end of this. Let's take it from the top. A working class lady, for example. What are some of the things that someone like that in this situation is supposed to be looking at?
Well, so what you should do is, keep track of your expenditure items and see which ones are the biggest drivers. So I think for people who probably live in Accra, many people probably drive to work, or even if you don't drive to work, you take short road. The way transportation costs have gone up and fuel costs have gone up. So clearly you need to start seeing, okay, which line items are driving my expenses. And then you start looking through them and see, okay, what can I do differently? So if it's fuel, or if you drive and it's fuel, then you have to start thinking about whether you can find alternative means of transportation. There are some things that you can't really do much about. So when it comes to food, we need to eat to survive. What you might decide to do is look at if it's grains, what type of grains have you been consuming, and which type of grains are seeing higher prices, and whether you can substitute from one type of grain to another. And then if you are always driving, or if you are now about to buy a car, you need to think seriously about the type of car you are buying and the fuel consumption that you are seeing. So it requires that you sit back and examine your line by line expenses and know which ones, because when we look at the inflation numbers, we see that the prices of some items have gone up more than others. So when you look at your own line by line items and you're able to tell which ones am I spending more, which ones is in a bigger increment, then you start looking for what other things or what alternative ways I can go about meeting the same need. And then you'll be able to figure a way to minimize the impact. I think in the current climate, there's not really much you can do to say I'm going to avoid having to spend more. It's not going to happen, but it's really about minimizing how much more you are having to spend by looking at the choices that are available to you.
The conversation has also been around the fact that now how to even feed is a problem. I mean, 3 times a day meal is even becoming a problem. Politicians have stated that people are using the 101 tactics, others are using the 011 and all of that. Now, how bad can this get in terms of someone like a national service personnel who is earning next to nothing?
No, I think people who are on fixed incomes are really going to be among the worst off, because when you are on a fixed income, the national service allowance is very small. I think it hasn't increased for a while. And if you look at from the start of last year alone, the cost of living, the average cost of living has gone up about 33%. So if you take a national service person whose allowance hasn't gone up much, that means that the amount they are receiving has really gone down. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like the solution is near. I think if you look at the trends going up, the currency depreciating and all the other things, it doesn't look like we'll be out of the woods anytime soon. So for a national service person, I think, this is really going to bite hard. Anybody who is on fixed income, or if you're on pension and your pension is not linked to the inflation rate, then it's really going to bite hard. And it's going to probably get worse before it gets better. So what you need to do is maybe have a conversation with whoever your employer is, whether, there will be option, depending on what you do, whether there will be option for you to do some of your things from home so that you save on fuel costs. And just have a general discussion, because the National Service Allowance, I'm not aware of any discussion to increase it anytime soon. But the cost of living is probably going to continue rising.
All right. Now, another thing also is the fact that you spoke about, fuel, how they're going up and how the individual has to look for ways and means to, make sure. But let's put productivity in this. If we're looking at ways to cut corners, or if you like, means to make things a bit easier for us, would it affect productivity in terms of our working places or the human production effort?
Well, I think it's great that you bring up the issue of productivity, because, if when your incomes are not enough, usually what people do is that they look for additional sources of income. And that means whether you need to, if it was possible, whether you need to take on additional job or take on a side activity that will earn you some income. So in terms of productivity, as an economist, we think that productivity precedes pay. So if, for instance, you became more productive, or if at your workplace you were taking on additional tasks, that will probably give room for your employer to consider paying you more. So actually, it is now is the time to actually up our productivity, and not think that, because cost of living is going up, we are going to allow our productivity to decline. This is now the time to work harder and to contribute a little bit more and to become more efficient. So if you are in a discussion with your employer to get an additional salary raise, and they see that you are now being more productive and you are producing more, that gives them more room to be able to raise your salary in the current climate.
The ordinary Ghanaian, and how they go about their activities, if you look at it, and how they are able to feed their families, over the period, has not been the best. In situations where we find ourselves, earning or maybe experiencing a very tough time like this, how do they manage the family? Let's say in a family of 5, in a family of 6 or 10. How should management, in that space be done?
Well, it's a difficult thing. I mean, I also have a family, and then every day, these days I'm always having discussions about things that having discussions with my wife and the people I live with that, look, things are getting more expensive. Maybe how we are using the gas and how we have to make sure that we are not, things that we don't need to use, we are not using it. And then making sure that the lights are put off when we don't need it. So I think there are some behavioral things that has to happen. There are some things that you can avoid. I mean, if you have kids, for instance, children, when they are used to, this is what we have for breakfast, this is what we have for lunch, this is what, even if you are doing 001 or 100 or 010, you know that the kids have to be insulated. It cannot affect them. So there are some things that you can't do anything about, but all the other things that you can do something about. If you are planning any major expense and then you know that, or you are trying to embark on a project, you are trying to buy a major equipment or an appliance, and this is probably time to rethink whether what you are trying to buy is really essential. So I think it will be time for you to put brakes on other major expenses that you are planning, because the situation that we are in, things are not going to improve anytime soon. So that's one part. So think about all the things that you are planning to do, and then look at ways that you can cut your daily expenditures. So that one is going to be crucial, because you are not, so the things that we spend that are absolutely necessary are many. But you still have to find ways of, if it's electricity, if we have to start switching off the lights when we don't need them.
Yeah.
And if cooking, there are some basic things that, the Energy Commission will tell us. If you are cooking, make sure that the bowls are properly covered. So you consume, it will look trivial.
Okay.
But you realize that when you do all these minor things, they will add up. Then they will save you a little bit. Now is the time to make sure that every penny, every peso that we can save, we find a way to save them.
I see. Please hold on for me. I want to get a bit practical on this. So I have a national service personnel. Unfortunately, we lost him over there. I wanted to find out exactly what his condition has been over the period that we've been going through this. But, like you said, this is the time for us to actually, put a brakes on buying certain things that we know we're not going to be needing them. I don't know for how many people out there who have had to spend money on certain things that they feel that, if they don't have them, their lives will even still be better. But then you can share your thought with me if you're watching me right now. You can share your thought with me. You can also give us a call and let us know what you think about the situation we all find ourselves in here. The economy is in a serious downfall, and Dr. Patrick tells us that we're not going to be coming out of these woods for a bit of time, and so it's a reason for all of us to actually gear up and make sure that we're pushing ourselves to places where we feel we can have other things that will make our lives a bit comfortable. Now, I've been talking to Dr. Patrick Asuming. He's an economist whose research is mainly based on health economics and development economics. He's spending time with us here on the show. But you can give us a call. Let me know, which part of the country are you at? What is the living condition over there? How many things have you have to do to make sure that you are able to reduce your buying and just so you're able to make some money for yourself and feed yourself? If you're a national service personnel, I'd like to also speak to you about how your condition is like. If you're a working class lady, you go to the office, you used to go with a matching bag and shoe, if you had to do the tie and the suit and all of that. Now is the situation the same? If it's not, what are you doing to make sure that you still put your head above the waters? That's what we're taking a look at this morning here on Social Watch here on Prime Morning. So you can give me a call, phone lines activated, and let me know what you think about this. Doc, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. So Doc, now let me find out. In places where staff, who are on a certain level are given certain incentives, especially clothes, allowance and all of that. What are some of the things they have to be using these monies for?
So I think well, if you are getting allowances. So most likely you have found a way of using the allowances and keeping them. So I think it's a good time like I've been saying several times this one, it's a good time to say, okay, maybe there are some perks, personal perks that you are giving yourselves. Maybe it's time to re-examine whether maybe you should cut back on one or two, so that if you are using to having 3 snacks after meal, maybe it might be time to give up one. So I think it's just realigning the budget and then seeing what is absolutely necessary. And what can I, sort of deny myself a little bit.
So in this case, not to catch you, in this case, can you inject some of the monies from the allowances or clothing allowance that you're given to your personal upkeep? If that happens, how do you impress your bosses based on your outlook? Because it's the reason why they're giving you the allowance in the first place.
Well, obviously, if you are given a clothing allowance, it's because your employer expects you to dress in a particular way. They are not going to expect that you give you the clothing allowance and then your dressing is more or less
you need it at another place now.
You can't do much about. But if it's about buying new clothes, so maybe it's time to maintain the old ones, the old pool that you have. If you are used to buying a new one every month, maybe you need to pause a little bit. You still have to appear well and be good the way your boss is expecting. I mean, if you work there are some places of work that you can't. I imagine that you are one of them. You're expected to appear in some way. So
now, in that case, Doc, if you used to shop in the boutique, now you'll be looking like Kantamanto. But give me a moment. Let me speak to you. Caller on the line. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, please.
I'm grateful you're able to join us this morning. Please, what do you want to share?
Yeah, please, I work with Cocoa Board. I'm a contract staff. And for the past month, my salary has not come from January, May, and June is about to end. And I was shocked yesterday when I heard the amount of money they mentioned concerning the rehabilitation, and yet still all these things have not been paid. Those who are working in the field have not been paid for a number of months now. And we are in a rented places, apartment, we rent, we pay light bills, we pay other things, we take motorbike in and out, 40 Ghana cedis and all stuff. So we are just suffering. We want you people to use your medium to do something about this for us. We don't know what is happening in Ghana.
Anyway, thanks for sharing this with us. We appreciate it. Let me do this quick message as well, and then I'll come back. This one says, "Good morning, KMJ. I'm a national service personnel as a nurse, and I can emphatically state that it has been 7 months now since we embarked on this mandatory exercise, and there hasn't been any sign of us getting our service allowance. It's tiring, but what can we do?" Doc, if you can hear me, yes. So for those who have unpaid salaries, this might be very, very tough for them. How did they go about this?
Yeah, I think this is tough. I think, if people in times like this, I think the government really have to take a look. I think I always say, earlier on, I was telling you that if times are hard, the children are the ones that you have to insulate first. So, we know that we are all going through difficult times. So it's strange that the people at the lowest earning scale, people who are doing service, I think it's not acceptable that, people who are earning relatively high are being paid and those who are doing service and those who are on a relatively lower pay scale are not being paid. So I think the government, as a matter of urgency, need to do something to ensure, because we have to ask ourselves, how are these people surviving? How do we expect that they show up in their workplaces every day when for several months they haven't been paid? So I think the government needs to, as a matter of urgency, all people who are, especially national service, I think I've recently heard that they've been paid, some of the arrears have been paid, and I think that's good. But we have to ensure that people are not having to go to work without being paid. I think that's quite unfortunate.
Yeah. Doc, give me a moment. Let me speak to another caller. But Queen, if I get that correct, from Spintex. Bequin from Spintex, Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to believe you're good this morning.
Come again.
I want to believe you're doing well.
Yes, please. I'm doing good.
Awesome. What's your current situation now? What are you losing?
Come again?
I'm asking, what is your current situation in terms of your pockets, in terms of your spendings?
Yeah, I'm an accounts officer at Wejagbawe Hospital.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. What do you want to share?
Yeah, what I want to share is, I'm an accounts officer at Wejagbawe Hospital, and I have 5 kids with a wife. And could you believe that I traveled all the way from Springtest to Akaway? And even looking at my salary is below 2,000. And I spend almost 600 on transportation. I have gone to the regional office just for me to be transferred to a nearest place near my house. But since then, and you see, I'm still suffering and struggling because every day I have to spend almost 100 cedis on my children before they go to school.
I don't know, but I'm lost for words. I can understand, because I know where you're talking about, so I know the distance from Springtest to that side of town. We're still finding solutions to it. Now, Doc, how does it go about this?
Well, I mean, it's a difficult situation. I think you just have to keep trying. That the employer will see because if there's another facility where he can be transferred to, I think it will be very important so that you save a lot on the transportation. And I think it's also part. I don't know what his wife does, but it's time to start looking at doing additional things, especially if there are other people of working age in the household who have not been working. It's now time for them to also start doing something, a little thing here or there to help to bring in additional revenue to additional income to support the household.
Okay, Doc, I'll come back
because
to you.
I think if that is his salary is all that they are dependent on, it's going to be very tough.
Okay, I'm going to come back for you. Let me see if I can take this very last caller. Good morning, if you can hear me.
Yeah, good morning, KMG.
Mexican.
This is the Mexican Takrady, yeah.
Okay, in Takrady. Please, what do you want to share?
Yeah, you see, it has always almost been like this. Since I was young, I heard my parents say, I didn't know, you see, and it has always been like this. I don't think it's ever going to get easier than we are going through now. Probably it's even getting worse. But just that the current situation is so alarming. The rate at which prices are going up, foodstuffs, transportation, fuel, everything, rent, the rate that they're going up. We know that the Ghanaian worker had always been a magician, managing when it is almost impossible to manage, because your salary does not take you to even half of the month. It gets finished, and then we manage by to the end of the month. You see, this is what we have been doing all these years. I started working officially, I think, since 2002. And then it has always been like this. Just that this time it is so worse. You go to the market once today, you plan for the next one, maybe you are going with a certain budget, you get there and everything else has changed. A bag of rice now, the least you can get is about, the 5 kg is about 45 Ghana, the least is about 45 Ghana cedis. A few months ago, it used to be 25, 20, 27, 28. And then maybe the highest one was 35. Now the highest one is 80. The next time I go to the market, you are going to see the highest one 30 to 90. So it makes the whole thing so worse. Spiting our faces again is when your salary is delayed, especially for a government worker. So what do? You have to manage. Sometimes in managing, you have to engage in practices that do not really going to help you if you are found out. Okay, but then of course you have to survive.
Yeah.
And when it comes to survivor, everything goes.
Okay, I think I lost Mexican over there, but I'm grateful for your thoughts and sharing your experience with us here as well. Doc, we're wrapping up this morning, our time. In 30 seconds, what do you think the ordinary Ghanaian, as citizens, we have to do to make sure that we bring the economy back to where it's supposed to be?
Well, I think we always put solutions on government. I think ordinary Ghanaians also, it's now time to also start being patriotic and patronizing what other Ghanaians are producing. I think the people that we are complaining that, we are not having incomes, we are not getting jobs. If another Ghanaian is producing something and we all prefer to buy what is foreign, every time we are buying what is foreign, we are shipping our jobs from Ghana to a different place. So I think in the immediate term, we all have to tighten our belts, look for things that we can cut for us to go through this period and then survive. And then hopefully going forward, we will take our savings habit seriously so that when times are better, we make sure that we put more away in preparation for when times are bad like we are currently having.
Doc, I'm grateful this morning for your time, and I want to believe that at this point, they're saying cut your coat according to your size will mean very much, to us as individuals, as citizens who want to make sure we survive in situations like this. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. All right, so that's Doc. Many thanks to you for also joining us and having time with us this morning here on a